No, I'm okay.
Oh, you were upstairs. Were you confused when we all went downstairs without your phone? Is it working?
Figuring it out.
I should shred these work documents I just found. Alaska Airline revenue filter.
Co-host Andrew?
Oh, Jude, can you hear me?
I can.
Cool. Sorry, what did you say? You cut in at the. I heard co-host Andrew.
I can, but we're getting some weird feedback loop.
Okay. Interesting.
What did you say? You cut it at the.
Something with myself. Hang on, I'm gonna play with something. Any better now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I wanted to wait and see if it to your guests.
Jude, I don't know if it's your internet or mine, but you are just on such a huge delay for me.
Weird. Okay.
Also, I just got a text from Taylor. She was asking if you'd sent out the Zoom link.
I didn't send it to your guests. I only sent it to the invitees, but I will send it to all of those folks now.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Am I still on a delay?
It's a little sluggish, but I think you're coming through okay.
Okay. I'm not sure that I have everybody's email address.
Okay.
Do you want me to just forward it from the link you sent me, Jude?
Yeah, if you by the way, we are now
Jude, I lost you again.
I think he's just saying that we're live now on YouTube.
Okay. Great. Welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, hi everybody. This is going great. Technical difficulties will never cease to amaze. Okay, well, hi everybody. Welcome to the Dis Northwest Storytelling Night. We are working through some technical difficulties. Jude, who is running production, is working behind the scenes. We're getting some stuff. We're trying we're trying our best, but while we're waiting, I'm going to admit our first guest on. He's joining. And look at that handsome picture. Frank Nam is that is a picture of Frank Nam. There's his video. Hi,
It is a
Frank.
picture of me. Hi, everyone.
How you doing, Frank?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Welcome everybody to Dis Northwest Storytelling Night. I am your host, Andrew. This is my Sue Bird t-shirt, and happy to have you all here. Happy to have you all with us tonight. And our first guest is Frank Nam.
Hi, everyone. Good to
Frank,
see
why
you.
don't you give us a quick bio about yourself, and then we can get into some stories.
Sure. Quick bio. Let's see. So right now I'm in South Korea. So I was born here in Seoul. I'm in the place of my birth. I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 3 years old. Grew up in New York City, then Jersey. Went to college out the East Coast. Moved to Seattle in '96 to work for MSNBC.com, and then did a few years in like the .com tech space, doing web development. Bubble burst in 2001, 2002. Was out of work for a year. Thought about teaching. Went to Kaplan Test Prep. Taught SAT, GRE. Worked for them for 3 years. Did multiple, like 11 years in local nonprofits. Treehouse, working with foster youth and foster families. Then City Year, doing admissions and recruiting locally and nationally. And then spent 2 years at the City of Seattle working in the Department of Neighborhoods, kind of sending information up to the mayor's office. Fun fact, I worked for 4 mayors in 2 years. That was interesting. And then for the last 2.5 years, I've been with Civic Commons, which is a offshoot of Seattle Foundation. And I work on a project called We Belong Here. And so, yeah. And I've been coaching Ultimate since like mid 2000s. Edmonds Woodway High School, then Akikurosi Middle School, Franklin High School, and then with Seattle Underground in the club scene.
Yeah,
So,
I think I met you in like 2004 or 2005 or something like that at like
Yep.
a Spawn Fest, like some.
That sounds about right.
And so, when did you first get involved with Ultimate?
Yeah, funny thing. So growing up in New York City, New Jersey, I went to a lot of Korean Americans go to church. So I went to church back then, and a lot of churches in New York City, like the Korean kids, played Ultimate Frisbee. Like I just thought that Korean people played Ultimate Frisbee growing up, which is not true everywhere. It's like this particular subset of like magnet high schools in the suburbs and in the city. And then that was like late 80s is when I first started playing Ultimate. And then I created a high school team in Livingston High School in New Jersey. my junior year, so 89. And that team survived for maybe 3, 4 more years after I graduated. Played on the Rutgers men's team, but I'll pause there. Yeah.
So then, when you eventually made your way out to Seattle, what brought you here, other than, you know, bubble bursting work?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of wanted to move to Seattle. Unlike a lot of my friends back home, after high school, they went to college kind of like away. When I went to the state school, kind of like, in Seattle, going to UW or Wazoo. So I went to Rutgers and state school, stayed in town. My first 2 jobs were in the tri-state New York City metro area. And I just kind of like a longing to see another part of the country, get my like kind of like 4-year away experience. So when this Microsoft job happened and they asked me to relocate to Redmond, I was like, cool. Like Seattle has always been kind of on my mind as like a pretty far away place. And I thought I would be here, be gone for 4 years and then return back to New York City because it's New York City. But that obviously did not happen.
Did not. So I send you a couple primers on stuff to think about before. What's a story that what you think about when you feel like, when's a time when you felt connected to the Ultimate scene?
Yeah. So I'm wearing my all girl everything Ultimate jersey. And that's a big part of my feeling connected to the scene is really when I started coaching at Franklin High School. And so some people may have heard me do a story with Rise. What was it called? Oh my God, I feel bad. It was a storytelling thing that we did.
Flatball radio.
Flatball radio, thanks. I was like, Rise Up. No, that's Mario's thing. That's not what it is. Flatball radio. I'm not trying to steal your stuff, Mario. Flatball radio, but and I talk about coaching at Franklin, but as I was kind of discovering my own story around my being an immigrant, being a person of color, being in Seattle, and I had at that point before I coached at Franklin, I had lived in mostly North Seattle. So like, I lived as far as north as Linwood. I lived in like Greenwood. I lived in U District. I lived in Lake City. And when I started coaching at Franklin, I saw more kids and young people that looked like me, and that was kind of like really interesting. I had not seen a lot of diversity in North Seattle before. And so, like I didn't even know the South End was a thing. When I started coaching, I just fell in love with like the young people I was coaching, the community, the vibe, everything about the South End just really pulled me in, so that to the point where I moved there, and I've been living there, even though I'm in Korea right now, but I've been living there for the last like 6 or so years. Mm-hmm. And just, working with young people who just gave me so much life, also caused a lot of gray hairs because, anyone that coaches young people know it's both a incredibly rewarding and incredibly taxing experience. But then I see young people like Miko or Henry Fan, just walking around doing their thing and just being like just amazing young human beings. And it's just cool to have that connection with people. But the coolest thing being in the South End and having coached at Franklin for years is when I just walk down the street, I'll get honked at, young people that I know will drive by, honk at me. Like, like it's just like really nice feeling to like just see people in community that you've coached. And that always like kind of like makes me feel really happy and connected.
Mm-hmm. There's a story that another person who's on the call right now who is camera off and audio off, who you and I were meeting for dinner with my wife, and a certain somebody came, not just honked at you, but I believe ran up and like physically accosted you.
Right.
They recognized you on the street. So it's
Right.
I'm familiar with your ultimate players you run into on the street stories.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
It happens. So what's a favorite ultimate story of yours? Like, something that just comes to mind, brings you joy when you think about ultimate.
I would say there is a really fantastic tournament here in Korea that is no longer, unfortunately, but it's called the Jeju tournament. So Jeju is a small coastal island off the southwestern coast of South Korea. A lot of Koreans call it like the Korean Hawaii. A lot of people go there for honeymoons. But they had this tournament, and you can ask Will Chen, if anyone ever sees Will Chen, about it. It's his favorite tournament of all time. Mm-hmm. He's won it twice. But you pay a ridiculous amount of money. You pay like $50, $50 US. It covers 2 days of ultimate, a really nice hotel, beer all day, like drinks, food. There's a party. There's a buffet. There is a DJ. There's like gifts. You get like a disc, a water bottle. You get like all these like swag for $50 US. And like teams come from Japan, Philippines, all over Asia, and it's just a lot of fun. So like it was cool to be, having played Ultimate in the U.S. for so long and coached in the U.S. for so long. It was just really nice to like see a more like diverse group of people playing frisbee. In the U.S., everyone knows it's a pretty homogenous and white sport. In Seattle, not as much, but yeah, it was just really cool just being out there and just like connecting with players from all different countries around Asia and just seeing Koreans play frisbee at a high level, which is really fun.
I think if there's any tournament directors who are on the call right now, they're probably all sweating, thinking about the idea that there's a tournament out there that only charges $50 for hotel, playing, food, beer.
Party, yeah.
Party.
But it was heavily subsidized by the Jeju National Tourism
Sure.
Bureau.
But
yeah,
I think all people are going to hear is $50. That's
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Do you have any non-related to the prompts I gave you? Do you have any ultimate stories that you just want to tell while we're here? While we have you on a video call from South Korea?
Sure. Let's see. I remember this is kind of a funny story. I was coaching at High School Westerns. I forget which year it was. It was the one where it was in Oregon, and we were playing. My O-line had gotten scored on. Our D-line didn't get a break, so our O-line came on. They got broken, and then one of my players was like, had played 2 points, and I was like, okay, like I won't say the person's name, but it's like you should take a point. And he's like, no, I'm not, and like just refused. And this is a high school student, but large high school student, probably like 6'1", 6'2", very strong, very big, very muscular. It's just like, and I was like, oh, kind of taken aback. So I was like, no, you should, like you play 2 points. Like I need your leg for defense. Like we need to put the O-line on. Like just take a break. He's like, no, I'm not leaving. And I was like, oh, this is scary. And all the other kids were like, holy crap, like what's going on? So in my brain, I was like, all right, I'm gonna ask him again. And if he says no, I'm just gonna let him play. And so I was like, look, I love the energy, I love the fire, please. But let's save it for defense. Let's get that fire for defense. What do you say? Fine. And he like storms out the field. I was like, oh, thank Jesus. Oh my God. Oh. I was like, like a lot of the young people I coached were like not tall, like short, fast, like kind of like the players that like break ankles. But this was like a large man, and I was just like happy to like not have to like ask him to do something he didn't want to do. Yeah. But all the kids' faces was hilarious. All the kids were like, "Yo, I don't think Frank's got control here." Yeah.
We don't have Frank's back if this turns physical.
Yeah. We got the bigger person's back, which is evolution. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Frank, do you remember how we first met? Do you remember that meeting?
The first meeting that we met?
Yeah.
Was it a captain's meeting?
So you were, I believe, working either for Disc Northwest or you were working on the tournament up at SpawnFest, and I was on a team of a bunch of like ragtag young players from the Seattle area, and we very cleverly named ourselves the Rough Huckers. And you had come up to us. I believe you were trying to get some information for the tournament, and your cleverly worded question was, which one of you is the roughest Hucker of them all?
I don't remember this at all.
You and I, that was the first time you and I met. We had a conversation because the good players were on the field and I was playing support on the sideline, and so me being the loudest one, you and I chatted for a couple minutes just about the tournament.
Wow. The roughest Hucker here. Wow. That does sound like something I would definitely say.
That's right. Admiring your own cleverness. We do have a question in the chat here. What is your favorite Schwa UG matchup memory?
Favorite Schwa UG matchup memory? Oh my goodness. There was one game we're playing for our lives to get to nationals, and we're at many years we played Schwa in the game to go, and it was when Beth Kaler was on the team, and we went down. I think we went down like 05 or it was like 04, 05, and so we're in a big hole. But we had clawed back. I think we had tied it, and then we're trading, and I felt pretty good. I think they got another break, but it felt good. And then there was this like moment where we're pushing on offense, and Beth Kaler just like lay out like chest high, lay out D's like I think it was Ari Lozano, right? Just it was just ridiculous. Hits the ground, like calls a timeout, spikes the disc, and yells let's an expletive, go, and just kind of like you see just all Schwa just like light on fire, like, and I was like I just watched from the sideline being, oh, this is not good, that's not good. That's a lot of momentum that just went their way, and they got the disc, they called it the timeout, and they broke, and that game just kind of like went away from us. But I just remember that particular moment, like calling a timeout, like laying out, catching the disc, getting up, calling timeout, spiking the disc, and saying that, and like rushing off, and like it's all of her like teammates, just like all their teammates just like lit on fire, collective fire, and I was just like, there is no coaching thing you can do here. This is
this is
no. You can take this right out of penis.
Well, Frank, thank you for joining us. This is
absolutely.
I'm really happy that you were able to call in from South Korea.
Same. I'm also happy that the timing worked out.
It's good to see you.
Totally good to see you, and I look forward to hearing the other stories.
Yeah, thank you.
I will go off camera.
So I'd like to welcome our next guest. Her name is Taylor Hartman, and in the grid screen, she is directly next to me. And Taylor, hi, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Great. Taylor, give us a summation of your Ultimate career thus far. Who are you?
I started playing Ultimate my freshman year of college. I went to Georgia Tech, and I had never really played any organized sport beforehand, so this was like my first experience. I started playing, freshman year, and then I never stopped until, this year, which is maybe a blessing in disguise because every time I stand up, my knees creak and my hip pops. So, but yeah, it's pretty much long and the short of it. I haven't really been playing necessarily all that long compared to a lot of people my age, maybe, but I moved to Seattle and started playing on Seattle Underground in 2017, right after I graduated from Georgia Tech. And I've been playing on Underground ever since. So that's pretty much it.
What was the impetus for you playing Ultimate?
I think so. My high school did have an Ultimate Frisbee team, but it was only a boys team, which I'm not sure if that's like actually how it was or if just that's what it was. And so I perceived it as like only boys had a team, and so there wasn't a girls team. But I knew this guy who played on it, and he would like talk about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And so then when I went to like my orientation for freshman year, they had like all of these tables with all clubs and organizations like there for signups and stuff. And I ran into a girl who's now a friend of mine, Maria Limbaugh, and signed up with her. I was like, yeah, this sounds cool. And then I went to the first practice, and I kept going back for some reason. So
I'm glad you were able to find a reason to keep coming back.
I did. Well, I didn't have like, I really don't know how or why. Like, I guess it was just like, because college, I didn't really have that many friends going into it. So it was like a really easy way to make friends. Like I ended up meeting like who is my best friend from college, like through it and everything. And like literally that, like when I say I didn't play organized sports, like I showed up to my first practice with a rec in a straight up regular bra, like a tank top like a cotton tank top, probably from like, I don't even know. Like it was just wild to me that I managed to actually get myself together enough to be good enough to play.
As somebody who I believe for like the first probably, I don't know, like 6 games in like months of practices that I played, showed up in like full jeans
Mhm.
to practices and stuff. I think like that's sort of like the male version of that, is just
Yeah.
showing up in the clothes that you were wearing, on your way to playing frisbee. So I think it's a common.
Yeah, that is relatable.
Eventually, I did find athletic shorts to wear, but yeah, we all
Yeah, I eventually bought a sports bra.
we
So
all figured it out eventually. um, so what's a time where you felt really connected to the Ultimate community?
I I think there so I think for me this isn't a thing that's like I have like one moment where I'm like, wow. I think it like while I was thinking about this earlier today, I realized that it's mostly a lot of little moments. Like after you're done with the tournament, either like the car ride back and everybody's like hanging out on the car ride back, or if you like flew to a tournament and there are a lot of people who flew to that same tournament, like you're all in the airport at the same time, like after games are over, and you just see each other and you're like, hey, what's up? And like maybe you get a drink together, what have you. But I think it's like similar to what Frank said. It's kind of like seeing people in random places and being like, I know you know me,
Yeah.
we know each other. So those are like the little moments that I think kind of like accrue together because the community is pretty big. So it's pretty surprising who you can see in different places.
Yeah. I'm a little older than you, and when I started playing frisbee in the early 2000s, it was a much smaller community. Like it was growing, and obviously it had grown, more at that point than whatever. And so like, but if I saw somebody with like an Ultimate bumper sticker, for instance, I knew exactly who that person was. Like I could identify the car. I knew who, I would like drive up and we'd like wave at each other. And now it's nuts how many, or I should say wild. I don't want to use nuts, but it's wild how many people just are like, Ultimate mom stickers, or like you don't see UPA stickers because that's been gone for a while, but like USAU stickers on the back of the car, or it's just like it has grown so much. And again, it's been almost 20 years since I started playing, so it's the sport has grown a lot since that time. But it's always, to me, like it's stark when I see somebody in a car with an Ultimate sticker, and I'm like, I probably have like absolutely no idea who that person is. I may not know anyone who knows that person, which is just like a very strange thing. But yeah, the community is so huge, especially here in Seattle. But
yeah, like going to the gym in the before times, like wearing gear and having people either ask me about it based off of like they either knew what it was, or because I have a lot of Georgia Tech gear, they would start asking me about my Georgia, like, where'd you get that jersey? And like, so even if they don't play, they still kind of like the swag of it. So I don't know. It's just pretty cool.
yeah,
There's like also just like a lot of different types of people who play. So that's always fun too. So
that is true. Do you have like a favorite Ultimate memory, something that brings you joy when you think about Ultimate?
I think one of my favorite memories in general is actually probably when I went to Kaimana a couple years ago. Just that whole weekend was really cool and really fun. And I think like any like woman identifying player who can go to Kaimana should, because there's something really unique and special about playing in a for fun tournament with just other women. And like you didn't have to deal with, I'm not a very good person to have on a for fun team. I have found in my adult life I cannot really handle. So my partner Steven is sitting over there and laughing at me because he knows it's true. I have a hard time letting go of my competitive side in order to have fun. And it's like, unfortunately exacerbated by a lot of playing that I consider to be not the best, like just hucking it because we can, for example. That seems to plague some of my male colleagues on the field. So playing like in an all like women's like tournament was so fun, and we had such a great time, and my team ended up doing really, really well as well, which is always fun. But yeah, there was something really special about like how much more fun I had on a team full of like all women that was just supposed to be for fun. And obviously Hawaii is beautiful, and it was really, really special. And a lot of the like recognition of like the native population of Hawaii too was really cool too. So that's probably like one of my favorite like weekends that was like fun, and we did well, and it was just all around a great time.
Yeah. I mean, as you talked about in the before times, you would go to the gym and see people in Ultimate gear. Is there, I mean, other than the obvious of playing, is there something that you miss about Ultimate? If the answer is no, just like blink twice and I can stall or something.
Frank, plug your ears. No, I think.
I don't.
I mean, I think I miss playing. Obviously, I think everybody misses playing. I really miss seeing my friends. Which like my friend group is very largely comprised of like the people I play with, which I think is fairly common for a lot of Ultimate players. But yeah, I think like seeing my friends literally at least twice a week for like a couple of hours, like was something that I wasn't prepared to lose and didn't realize how important it was. So I'm not necessarily the most social or outgoing person, but losing that like social gathering twice a week has been difficult. I've been finding other ways to cope with that, but that's definitely something that I miss because I view my team as like a part of my family. So
yeah,
it's just tough not seeing them all the time.
Yeah, when I stopped playing, I decided that I was no longer going to play, and so I feel for a lot of people who sort of this caused like a forced break in their decision to play. For me, like when I stopped playing, it was more like my body was falling apart and I just couldn't do it anymore. But I was able to keep up with friends that I knew from the Ultimate community and grew friendships that I wasn't able to, like when we're playing together or playing against each other, you have this sort of like certain level that you don't really want to go over because, you're competing with somebody or whatever. And growing those friendships out of Frisbee was, huge for me. And, I still have friends, it's now been a decade since I played. But I still have friends, obviously Frank is somebody that I knew from when I was playing Frisbee. And there are people that I am still friends with that I played with then, but I can't imagine just the amount of people that have now been forced to stop, having it taken away from them. And I'm sorry if I'm just making you sadder, Taylor. That was my goal.
I don't think it's possible.
My goal is to make you cry on camera. So if I can succeed in that, that's all I want. But
surprisingly easy to make me cry. You just didn't know what to say, but
what about do you have like a favorite game? Like, is there like a game that when you think about it, just like that's the best game you ever played in, or your favorite game you ever watched? Just like the competition of the game really got you.
I think okay. I think like one of my favorite games currently like in my repertoire that I really love is actually the last game of Ultimate I played like competitively, which was the game to go to nationals last year at regionals, which was against Schwab, which typically Underground always ends up playing Schwab in order for the game to go. But I just really loved it because even though we lost and Schwab played really well and they definitely deserved to go, we had played them, I think, either earlier in the day. I think it was literally like we had played them 2 games before and they absolutely crushed us. It was like ridiculous. It was like 15-5 or something. And then in the last game, the game to go, we like we're neck and neck with them for like most of the game. And it was just like seeing the like switch for in another. I love Schwa. I love everybody who plays on Schwa, but seeing like the switch in a team when they get, when they like go from like very, very confident to then nervous is like something that makes me so happy. And maybe that makes me a terrible person, but like watching another team start squirming a little bit and being like, oh no, that just really gets me going. That's why I play the game.
You play the game to see other people be miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm understanding about you now.
Yeah, I love playing on an underdog team, whatever that means, and then seeing other teams get mad when we do well. But yeah, that's probably like my favorite. It was a really good game. Everybody played really, really well, and even though we lost and we ended up not going to nationals last year, it was still a riot. So it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor, thank you for joining us. It was really nice talking to you. There's been a lot of negatives in 2020, but one of the true positives of 2020 is the fact that you and I have become pretty good friends this year. So thank you for chatting and thank you for your friendship.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
On cam, he just dramatically turned like a friggin' model. Devin Barrich is, you're muted, bud. But I saw you very handsomely turn into camera. Dev, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I didn't know whether or not to come in muted or not. Taylor was talking. I didn't want to interrupt. I was nervous. I'm still nervous. Here we are.
Don't be nervous. You're great. You're great. So Dev, give us a intro to you. What's your life in Ultimate been like?
Let's see. 2009 is when I came up here from Portland after playing some Ultimate at Gonzaga for 2 years. And I was actually frantically thinking about what to say and like how to not sound like a ridiculous human. But I did come across a picture of myself in like just a wool cap running around a field, I think at the sports meadow at Magnuson. And I, to this day, remember, and my dogs might be loud, sorry. But to this day, I remember walking across a field, and I'd been living in Portland for a year previously, having fun, playing pickup basketball, hanging out. And I was walking across this field in Magnuson. I looked around, I was like, oh, all of these people are pretty nice. And I'm pretty confident they're all gonna be nice to me. And like, I don't have to feel weird. And that was, I don't know, probably a privileged feeling, but like it was also something where like I didn't feel like I was going to be judged, and as I was thinking about that today, I was like, I should say that, and I did feel that way, and it was super fun. And I like picked up with a random team and played with them, and they didn't care one way or another, and they're like, sure, come and play with us. And I ended up staying for like 5 hours at Magnuson when I had originally planned to play for like 45 minutes. And that's my first memory of Ultimate and the Ultimate community in Seattle. But I guess I started playing when I was, I don't know, maybe like 9th grade. Is that your freshman year of high school? And I was just playing barefoot in Willow Creek in Iowa City. Yeah.
Wow, your story.
Is that enough? I don't know what to say.
I mean, I didn't imagine I get a transcontinental story out of it. Yeah, I'm trying to remember when you and I would have first met, and I have, vivid memories of us hanging out and us, being friends for years.
Mhm.
But I cannot for the life of me remember when I met. I'm sure it's just like we either met on the sideline of some tournament and just vibed immediately. We were, friends for life from the moment we met. But what's, obviously you and I were buds. I feel connected to you. Is there like, what's a story? Doesn't have to include me, but you could make me feel better if it does.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Story where you felt like really connected to the Ultimate community.
I'm not super long-winded for this stuff, but there's like, I guess it's a series of, maybe it's a series of like instances. There was a time when I was watching, I think I don't know if it was a quarterfinal game or a semifinal game for high school ultimate, down at Starfire Complex. And I went down, with some friends, to support a couple coaches and to support, my buddy, Chris Kanamori, who I think was coaching or assistant coaching one of the teams. And I, distinctly remember being like awestruck by seeing youth, in high school sort of like imploring the crowd to cheer, and like crowd participation being a big deal. And on top of that, seeing kids who are being very competitive, interacting with each other, attempting to, I don't know, I guess the term for ultimate is like spirit, but it's like sportsmanship is classically what I was brought up on the term being, but spirit is more encompassing. It was very clear and made me feel connected to like the spirit of the community to see kids sort of like negotiating, about calls on a field after a series of plays where there was sort of like ticky-tack fouls called across the entire field, and then a goal was scored, and instead of like running off the field and celebrating, folks from both teams came together on the sideline and discussed, everything that had happened on the sideline, and came to an agreement. And I saw high fives and shakes, and I know that you can high five and shake somebody on the sideline and not mean it. I've walked on sidelines in competitive atmospheres and, you know, felt the theater of it and not felt like the spirit of it. And I could feel the spirit and like the actions of those kids and the way that they were interacting with each other and the way that they were supporting their teammates after the discussion, made me feel super connected to the community. Hey, enough.
Is that Rue?
There's Rue and Honorius, so thank you for bearing with me.
Hey.
But it made me feel connected to the community in a way that made me like sort of like, I don't know, believe more in the spirit of it after spending a bunch of time thinking that like I had to try and win a bunch, or feeling distant from it, and feeling sort of disconnected from like, why does it matter, blah blah blah. And then seeing, folks many years my junior actually like deploying these sort of like mediation techniques and like being level-headed and interacting with each other, I don't know, made me smile. I chatted with people that I came with about it, and it was super unique. It's super cool, and people cheered about their discussions. Yeah, and that's a meandering story about an experience I had.
You got there eventually. You were telling it. I do want to quickly, you mentioned Chris Kanamori. Chris Kanamori, when I first started playing Ultimate in 2002, we sort of like happenstantially joined a high school league. Like a bunch of us were seniors at Ballard, and the school wanted nothing to do with the program. So we ended up doing it through the community center. And I think like in our first game, we played against University Prep, which Chris Kanamori played on. And Chris, they just kicked the crap out of us in the game. I think it was like, like probably 13-1 or something. And we, through the athleticism of my teammates and the smarts of other people on the team, we managed to get pretty good by the end of the year, and we ended up playing them in the championships. And Chris was like the first person to come over and just be like, oh my gosh, like you guys got so good. It's so cool. And then like Chris and I have I think Chris, other than the people that I met on my team, Chris is the friend I've had the longest in Ultimate Frisbee. And like, I haven't seen him in a while. I haven't talked to him in a while, but it's always good to see him. But shout outs to Chris Kanamori. Good guy.
Champion human. Champion of the community.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine as well. I think I played against him on Gonzaga when UW was playing us in regionals or any other Northwest tournament, and they always dealt with us relatively efficiently.
And I'm sure in an extremely spirited way, knowing UW men's teams.
Yes, like clearly spirit forward.
Yeah, I should say. Dev, do you have any what's a favorite Ultimate memory of yours? Something that just brings you joy when you think about Ultimate.
Oh, geez. Dude, I was trying to think of that too. I'm trying to be one step ahead of the game.
I'm 2 steps ahead of you at all times. I'm sorry.
I know. That's why we're friends. Let's see. Something that definitely floated my ego was was sort of like a interesting sort of like full head under the water moment for like how much impact Frisbee has around the world is in 2010, maybe in Prague. I was lucky enough to be on a team that made finals, and we ended up losing in finals. But during the game and after the game, the crowd was like super enthusiastic, and to the point of like cheering individual players, and then cheered another team who was receiving their medals back off the field so that we could come out and get the award for spirit. And that was another moment, that was sort of an initial moment that made me realize that this community of people cares a ton about the attitude and style of play. And I was like blown away, and seeing the looks, I guess a lot of it was like looking around and looking at different teammates and seeing people who I know had played and will always have played more Ultimate Frisbee than I ever have, and seeing their like looks of astonishment and excitement and like true joy, and watching those people celebrate each other and their teammates, and celebrate the fact that our team had won the Spirit Award for that World's tournament, which was quickly followed, I think 5 minutes after we received that trophy, it was snapped in half in the middle of the field, because I guess we had been like playing catch with it or something, because everybody, the crowd was cheering, we were stoked, we were just throwing it around, and boom, it snapped in half. So
it's
yeah,
the whole
that was a fun memory.
thing. You were so hyped to win the award that you just you invoked Hulkamania. Instead of tearing the t-shirt, you just tore the Spirit Award in half.
It was ridiculous. I was like, oh my god, we just.
You know what? I'm sure it was like a Mean Girls thing where you were breaking apart pieces of the Spirit Award. This part of the Spirit Award goes to you, and this part of the Spirit Award goes to you. You're just the very giving heart that you have, Dev.
Not just total lack of concern for a very, very nice gift from a community of people.
Yeah, that somebody put a lot of hard work into.
Just a ton of hard work,
yeah.
And we were just being goofballs, celebrating it the best way we knew how, which was, I guess, throwing it. So.
Well, I mean, you're a Frisbee team, so what else are you going to do with something but throw something, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of excuses that can be made, but I
think it's honestly on the people who made the award. They should have known it was going to be thrown, and they could have made it of something unbreakable.
Some type of alloy, maybe not adamantium, but like something getting to that space. Like
unobtainium, one of the real metals of our world.
Yes.
Well, Dev, like I've said a bunch of times, you are a friend of mine. You are somebody that I value and treasure. I think you're a wonderful person. Your wife, Nora, is also just a wonderful source of joy in my life. And you are two people that I think of so fondly all the time. And, we've been doing FaceTime movies every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're just a person I look forward to talking to and being around. And I just think you're such a joy. And I thank you for coming on. I thank you for being just a great, wonderful person. And thank you for sharing your friendship with me.
Awesome. I appreciate all of that, and clap back to you, and definitely clap to Nora. and to Jillian. And I guess I don't want to take any more time. I know you've got things to wrap up, but thank you for having me. I was super nervous. I had no idea what I was getting into, but it's touching to be a part of this. Thanks so much, and I'll stick around and listen, I guess, right? I don't know.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So the next person that we have, she was unavailable to do this live, so I did pre-record an interview with Dominique Fontanet. So I'm going to, through the grace of sharing a screen here, here is the interview that I did with Dominique Fontanet. All right, I'm here with Dominique Fontanet. Hi, Dom.
Hello.
So we are here for the Disc Northwest Storytelling Night. Dom, I sent you a couple primers, but before we get into those, why don't you give a brief summation of your very short, unstoried career in Frisbee?
Oh boy. Let's just start back in 1993 when I arrived at Stanford University for a pre-frosh. In other words, I wasn't a student yet. I was just checking out the university to see if this was someplace I wanted to go. And that was the first time I saw the sport. I was trying to check out a chemistry class with a bunch of people, and we were just walking towards the chemistry class. And I don't know where my attention was, but I ended up running smack dab into a pole. So I'm like head hit pole. And so the people I was walking with were like, whoa, you should probably just go sit someplace for a while. We'll go check out this chemistry class and we'll come back and swing by and pick you up on the way back. So with this like goose egg on my head, I went and I sat on this like grass fields, which happened to be Robley fields, which is where the Frisbee team was practicing. But, you know, given that I didn't even know what Frisbee was, I didn't know I had actually sat on their sideline and watched these people play the sport with the disc. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I mean, we've all, as Frisbee players, have seen this Frisbee fly through the air and how like majestic it looks. It's just like this thing that's floating in space. And I was like, I was captivated, and they were just so nice. Like the people came over to me because of course I'm on their sideline, and they were like, hey, do you want to play? You know, like I was like, what? No, like I have no idea what you're talking about. But they said, well, when and if you decide to come to Stanford in the fall, you should come out for the team. And I took it seriously. So that was it.
I never imagined that the career that you've had in Frisbee, it started because you walked into a pole and just sort of stumbled onto a Frisbee field. That's wild.
Literally. So I guess just to complete my career after that, I played for Stanford and then stayed in the Bay Area and played for a number of different club teams, including Defense, which was a team in the Bay that I think we made it to nationals. I don't actually remember. I went down to Santa Barbara and played with the Lady Condors. This is all like, you know, in the late college years. Because back then, not a lot of college players played club. So I was just trying to get my feet wet. And then after I graduated, I ended up playing with what became Fury. It was called the Furies, plural. And we realized quite quickly it was really hard to yell, Furies, go Furies.
Go the Fury.
So it became Fury. And continued playing all through grad school. I went to med school out in Boston, played out there. And then it eventually ended up playing on Brute Squad and came back and played on Riot, and there you have it.
What brought you out to Seattle when you came here to play with Riot?
Oh yeah, good question. I actually was dating someone on Brute Squad when I was playing for Brute Squad, and she ended up coming out to California for grad school down in LA, and so we moved out together. And I wasn't ready to retire, and the options were like play in LA, play play. I still wanted to play on the national scene.
Mhm.
So it was like join one of the LA women's teams or join one of the co-ed teams down there. Seven Figures was one of the top teams down there, or commute and try to play for Fury or Riot or Colorado or something like that. So I actually tried out or put myself in the tryout list for all those teams,
Mhm.
and went out to a couple of Seven Figures tryouts, and I requested a tryout for Colorado, and they were like, well, we are willing to accept out of town players, but you have to make it to some like kind of like the number of practices I would have had to make to actually become a legitimate like tryout was more than I was willing to travel. And then at some point I just was left with trying to try out for Fury or Riot. And I realized, I looked at the two teams and I was like, okay, so Fury's on their winning streak and they have all these like young, athletic, full of potential players.
Mhm.
And then they have their old guard already. And no offense, Alex Snyder, but like they had their like Anna
players, yeah.
Mad Dog, yeah. And so they were like complete, and so I could try to get on that team, and at that time I probably would have made it, I think. Or I could go out and play for Riot, which was the Hannah Kawhi, Roy Titcomb from Brute Squad,
Mhm.
Gwen Ambler, like that was the team, and it looked like they had a lot of young potential and not as much old guard. And so I thought that if I tried out for that team, I would have a lot more to contribute to the team itself.
Mhm.
So I commuted to play with Riot from LA, and then eventually, as some things do, like that relationship didn't continue. So I moved north and ended up in Seattle.
Well, as somebody who benefited from you moving to Seattle and we became friends, I'm happy you made that decision.
Oh, thanks. I am too. Yeah.
What? So I prompted you with a couple questions before. So like, when was the time in Ultimate that you felt like really connected to the community?
Yeah. I mean, when I read that question, a lot of different moments came to mind, and I was trying to figure out like what was the like kind of tying in figure of those different moments, and it was this like deeper sense of being connected, I guess that's the word. And the one time that I wanted to share was at Nationals, when it was the year that 9/11 happened. So, the Twin Towers got bombed, and that was September. That was like really close to Nationals.
Mhm.
And so close that a lot of people weren't flying again yet. Even I think the Canadian teams didn't come down for Nationals that year, and Nationals was in Sarasota. But I remember like that was a huge decision that a lot of teams made. Like, do we still go? Do we still play? And before every Nationals, they play the national anthem,
Mhm.
and everyone's, you're warming up, you're still getting the dew off your cleats, you're throwing, and then all of a sudden the national anthem starts to play and you have to stop. And there's always that moment where you're like, we have to do the national anthem, and you stop. But that year, I remember like everyone stopped and really were like focused on that flag. And there was just like this connection in the silence. It felt different.
Yeah.
And you really did feel like there was something bigger than just yourself being there, to play Frisbee. It felt like a nation.
Mhm.
So that was one of the connection moments, I feel like,
Yeah.
that stands out in my head.
I was not expecting that answer. That's a really vivid memory. What about like a favorite memory in Ultimate? Do you have like one that sticks out that's just like something where you're just like, you think about it and like that's Ultimate to you?
Well, when I read that question, a lot of very inappropriate answers came to my head.
Could so let's
Oh, okay. let me, there's probably a lot of underage people listening to this, I'll bet. But so, okay, I'll taper it to one of the most vivid moments in my mind. Like a lot of none of them, like most of them don't actually have to do with the Frisbee or the game itself. Like, yes, I have a lot of moments, but it's really about like being with your team. Either the moments that are stuck in my head or those moments either after an amazing win or a devastating loss.
Mhm.
It's like that connection you have with your team or that struggle at practice, you know. And one of the moments is after Riot lost in the quarters to Atlanta
Mhm.
a few years ago.
I remember.
And oh man, like, okay, so being on the fields, it was super windy, all that so vivid. But what really stuck in my head was after the game at 3 a.m. that night, we're all still awake and we can't, like, it's just sinking in, and we're in the kitchen of our like Airbnb and we're just sad. And Cassie Swafford starts playing this Gloria Estefan song, like turn the beat around, that song.
Yeah.
But she substitutes the word beat for bra. So she says, turn your bra around. Let me see those boobies. And we, sorry, this is inappropriate, but hey, there we are in the kitchen. We all turn our bras backwards and then we just start dancing. And it was like the biggest like catharsis of that loss, to be so silly and like kind of out. It was very out of character for a lot of those players too, to just do that. And there's Cassie Swafford, you know, like one of the biggest competitors I know, singing that song in the kitchen. It, like, everything about it is going to be stuck in my head, and I hope I never forget that memory.
Yeah, Cassie rocks. That was I mean, I was there, you know, on the sideline for y'all for that game, and you know, despite it being, you know, obviously at the time an upset, and you know, a lot of people really felt it. I remember, I have this very vivid memory of Hannah Kawhi coming off the field, and she was playing in the last point, you know, of that game. And she's coming off the field, and like, there's a, you know, you can understand it. You could come off the field and just head down, you know, really just be bummed out, reading your body language. Hannah is walking off the field knowing what the score is, what the implications are. Her hands are in the air. She's like making sure that, like, as she's walking towards the team, it's this moment of like still jubilation, you know, like, we're still a team, we're still a family. Let's not forget why we're here, and we're here for each other, and we're here, you know, to play. And it was this moment of like, you know, if, you know, and maybe the other 6 players all walked off the field with their heads down. I don't remember, but I do remember distinctively Hannah walking off the field and just being like, hey, you know what? Like, it happened. This is what, you know, like, we'll do it next year. And
I mean, yeah,
that sort of feeling is like, I mean, Hannah's one of a kind. Let's, you know.
I mean, yeah, that you just nailed. You just, like, that is Hannah Kawhi.
Mhm.
You could watch her in isolation playing, and you have no idea whether it's 0-0 against, you know, the lowest seeded team in the tournament, or it's Universe Point in the finals of Worlds. Like, Hannah Kawhi is so, like, she's just so cool in that way. I've always,
I could hold my hand out here and like I just, like, even just not doing anything, it's probably shaking a little bit. And I feel like if she were in, like you're saying, like 14 seasons on the line, like, her hand would just be like dead center. She's just
so steady.
steady. Yeah.
Yeah, practice too. I mean, that's Hannah Kawhi, and also that's the thing about Hannah, is that she really does somehow exude like she's playing the game for the game itself.
Yeah.
You know, and for the connection, and she cares so much about things outside of like winning or losing. I think that's really something admirable about.
I didn't mean for this to turn into a Hannah Kawai tribute section, but I also wanted to say that I've always felt the same from you too, that like, I think you're a very like calming and like a calming presence. Like people just feel at ease around you. And especially like when you're on the field or when you're talking to somebody on the sideline, like I always feel like people come away feeling a little more calm and at ease when you're around. So it's not just Hannah. Even though Hannah, we love you, you're great. Cassie Swafford, also love you and you're great. But Dom, I feel the same way about you too.
I'll take that compliment, and I'll bet there's like 12 people or 27 people who might disagree, but I'll take
They're not on mic right now, so well, Dom, we've taken up enough of your time, and thank you for sitting with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, that was the indelible, the great Dominique Fontenette. And who I've got with me right now is she is a special person in my life. And let's also get in here Alexa Yadama, who she is going to talk with a very special person. I feel like I called her over from the couch like I'm Johnny Carson. Let's see, a wild story. So Jillian Goodrow and Alexa Yadama, the floor is yours.
So is Alexa your special person, or is that me?
You're both special to me. You're both special to me. So you both have been scheming to with each other. Go, whatever you have planned, just go right ahead.
What are you talking about?
You said you both had like, so give a brief intro. Both of you give an intro on yourselves.
Do you want to go first, Lex, or should I?
You go first.
So I'm Jillian or Jill. I grew up in Seattle, lived here all my life, minus like 3 months in Mexico for an internship. But I got into Ultimate. Thankfully, my 6th grade math science teacher just happened to be the Kadi Homos, who is a world champion and one of the founding members of Riot.
Hang on. Your mic's a little low. Go ahead, try again.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, good. And so she started a team at McClure Middle School in Seattle, and I just fell in love with it. I played so many different sports, but for me, it was the one that stuck. And so I continued on to college and played all 5 years at UW. I even went to grad school just so I could play an extra year. Don't tell my parents, but it worked out because I got a national championship out of it.
Right.
And then I played a number of club seasons with Viva, Underground, Riot, and Underground. That's me. Lex?
But now you're doing what?
Oh, and now I also coach. I used to one at UW. Let's see, I took 1 season off and then came back as an assistant coach, and I'm currently an assistant coach at UW.
Yeah, go Jill. Hi, I'm Alexa. I am Jill's either number 1 or number 2 fan, depending on if you ask me or Andrew.
It depends on the day and how she's been acting towards me. You might be number 1 today.
What?
I just graduated from UW. I started playing because I saw a poster in my dorm and I had no idea what Ultimate was. And I was like, this could be fun to get to know people. And I went to practice, and then, you know how it normally goes, people keep bugging you to come back. And then I just really enjoyed the community and the friends that I met there. So it was great. And then that's where I met Jill. Jill was my coach for the past 4 years. And then I started playing Underground, I think 2018. Yeah, so that was my introduction to club. Yeah, that's me. So Jill, tell us about the transition into coaching.
I don't do anything.
Yeah, she stole your job.
Yeah, let me just...
Well, I did not expect to coach, honestly. So 2013 was the year after I'd graduated, and UW made it to nationals again. And I was just super excited to join the team as an alum and bring them a cooler full of snacks. But when they heard I was coming, they offered me a sideline pass just to be an extra voice. And apparently I did a pretty good job because they asked me to join the following season as a more permanent assistant coach. And so I've just been in that position since, but I don't know. I love it. It was a really meaningful time when I was in school. And so to be able to kind of give that back now to the folks that are going through the program and to Lex and just see the growth that everyone has during the college seasons, it's pretty incredible.
Okay, no pressure, but do you have a favorite year that you coached?
Favorite year? How about every year with you?
There we go. I was gonna say, be careful to include Lex.
No, I mean, every year is just different. I don't feel like I can say a favorite year. I was really looking forward to last year, which obviously was a bit tough with COVID, right? We didn't get to see our season peak in the same way that we wanted it to, but that was a good team.
It was a good year. Good stuff.
Yeah. Do I get to ask you some questions now?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. Andrew?
Jillian, ask Alexa a question.
So, how was I as a coach? No, kidding.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
No, I mean, what you said, you kind of just stuck around because people kept bugging you, but was that really it? Like what made you connect with sport and come back?
I mean, I think I played sports growing up, and so I naturally was drawn to the competitive nature of Frisbee, especially after the first tournament. It was, I was like getting that feeling again after going to college. And it was really refreshing just because it wasn't anything that I had played before. And so it was fun to try and learn new things and push myself in something that was completely new to me. But yeah, I think like it's hard to enjoy playing on a team if you don't love the people who you're playing with. And luckily, I think that Element has such a great family. And so, yeah, of course I fell in love with the people, Jill, and the coaches, aka Jill. But yeah, it made UW feel a lot smaller.
What do you think was the hardest part of transitioning from college to club? Besides having Frank as a coach instead of me.
Yeah, that transition was so rough. Just kidding, Frank, love you. Let's see. I don't know. I think just like the getting up to speed with everyone, because everyone's so experienced. And Frank, I'm just joking. But everyone has so much strategy, and it's just amazing. Like it was really cool to see everyone play my first year and see the level of club compared to college. Yeah, just getting used to it, I think, was like heading straight in to club compared to like the fall in college was really different. Yeah.
How has you want to coach? Oh,
what? No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, do you think you'll ever want to coach?
I don't know. Will you still be coaching? Because then maybe.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe.
Tell us about one of your most memorable moments from your Frisbee career.
Do you know in like professional sports when they win a championship and then they celebrate with a bunch of champagne and Budweiser?
Yeah.
So 2014, Lecco, Italy. I was very fortunate to be on the Seattle Riot team that won world championship that year. Mm-hmm. And while we didn't have a sponsorship from Budweiser, we were still drinking a lot of champagne in the locker after the game. And it was just so fun to share stories with one another and just laugh. And I'm pretty sure we were in there for the entirety of the mixed finals that was going on. And all of our family and friends were waiting outside wondering what the H we were doing.
Can confirm.
And it was so fun to just have like something so exciting to celebrate in a really, really beautiful place with the mountains. And it was kind of a weird journey because of some of the changes and the weather, and the first day was totally canceled. So it was just really cool to have everything culminate with that. And it wasn't quite the like champagne shower, but it was really fun.
That sounds fun. You're basically the women's national team, the soccer team. Just
Not
all of
quite
those
cool,
images
you know.
flooded into my mind.
You need to get the pink hair, huh?
Yeah.
Lex, what about you? What's a favorite memory of yours in Ultimate?
It has to have been probably last year when we went to nationals again and beating UBC at regionals. No one will ever hear the end of this story. But we were down by a lot at half and then came back to win it. Everyone was crying and hugging. And the best part was that UBC had already bought their plane tickets at halftime. Anyways, yeah, no, it was just a bunch of hard work. The whole season, and we just all had so much love for each other. It was a good time. That was probably one of my most favorite memories.
That was a good game. I remember that game. I was so nervous and stressed. Hopefully,
I was too.
you played great. You and Janet, and the whole team. Honestly, everyone played so well. Steph, man, it was just like an all-around team.
I think I blacked out the second half. I don't remember anything except celebrating at the end. Yeah.
Good game.
The first thing you remember is being hoisted in the air as you won the game.
I think me and Janet and Kirk were hugging and crying. We were like, we did it. Yeah, that's all I remember.
So cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Can I share a story about Lex?
Yeah, go ahead.
So maybe I think about, maybe this is wrong, but I feel
like pan down the camera a little bit so to reveal the jersey.
Wait,
recognize.
You left it at the fields at Stanford.
Really?
Yeah.
Continue with your story.
I'm so confused.
I feel like you're a player that, I don't know, when you have a chip on your shoulder or you're like trying to prove something, like you're just so fired up. And I had to miss Santa Barbara this year for work. And you came back and you told me like, this player on the Santa Barbara team skied me and I'm so mad. And you got to teach me how to like not let that happen again. And so I taught you some of the skill side of things, but I feel like up until Stanford Invite, I just like heckled you as much as possible so that you would have like I don't know, this like, oh, I got to prove Jill wrong. And at the Stanford Invite, you crushed in that game. You had an incredible game. So I don't know. I just think it's one of those things where it was really exciting to see you build on the skill and take the heckling lighthearted and just run with it. And then really prove yourself that you could do it. It was really exciting.
Thanks, Jill. I don't know what I'd do without your heckling. I need the heckling in my life. Okay, now it's my turn to tell a story about you. What was that tournament where, honestly, don't remember what tournament, but it was club, our last year of underground. And there was this one point. Okay, also, just as a backstory, I've heard like the legend of Jill, and like I never really got to see her play before we played together because there's limited film.
Are you calling me old?
No, I must have lost the film somewhere is what I'm saying. Anyways, I hadn't been able to watch Jill that much, but then it was fun because we got to play on O-line together on underground, and I remember just like there was one point where I was on the rail and I just watched Jill destroy people, and she got like a hand block that game. She skied someone that point, and then she goes and scores the goal. And I remember just like watching it all happen and being like, yeah, that's my coach. And then I tweeted something about it, and then Ulti World wrote an article about that exact point or something, and I was like, yes, Jill. And yeah, you're just a baller. Jill is just a baller. Everyone knows that though, you know.
Lex, I was actually going to bring up that exact thing because not only did you tweet something, you messaged me and was just like, Andrew, Jill just went insane. She hand blocked, she skied, like, because I couldn't be there, and I know how much you adore Jillian. I knew I could count on you to be able to facilitate that to me, but I was like keeping up on Twitter and checking the score. And then all of a sudden I get this barrage of messages from Alexa that are just like, oh my God, Jill just skied someone. She got a hand block and she scored the point. She's going, like, and then like, yeah, I think I know exactly what tweet you're talking about. And it was the clip of the play, and your quote tweet was, "This is the one, people."
Yeah.
So I have it committed to memory. But yeah, I was going to bring that up as something that I really like. You and I are becoming friends, and I know a lot of that is because of your relationship to Jillian. So a lot of my memories that I have of you are Jillian related, but I really treasured that moment that you were so hyped up for Jillian because, for forever, I've been her biggest fan, and I'm happy to share that honor with you, Alexa.
I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry.
We just love Jill so much.
Should do this more often.
That's right. We should talk on mic to each other more often. Jillian and Alexa, it's really been fun. It's been a pleasure. But Jillian, I'm kicking you out of the booth.
All right.
And Alexa, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you both for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, back to me. Hi, everybody. I'd like to bring on my next guest. There she is, a good friend of mine. Her name is Sarah Davis. Hi, Sarah. Oh, she's muted.
Muted. Hi.
There you go. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
Give us a brief intro to Sarah Davis.
Okay. I'm Sarah Davis, and I live in Seattle, like all of you. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of Zooms with people in other places, so I feel like that's just how I introduce myself now. I started playing Frisbee when I was in high school, and I got recruited by my high school English teacher, who was also a Frisbee coach. He played on Johnny Bravo at the time. And I was actually thinking about this earlier today, and I realized that since my freshman year of high school, this current period of time is the longest time I've not been involved in an ultimate team, which is a very long time. So I feel like I've been playing for a while. Not quite Dom level, but
Well, who is Dom?
Yeah, no one is quite Dom level.
Yeah. So you start playing in Colorado, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. You came out to Seattle to play for UW.
Yes.
Play on Element with the previous guest, Jillian Goodrow.
Yes.
I'm sure she was the main draw coming onto that.
Oh
too.
yeah, she's a storied like.
Yeah.
Said,
what's a time in your Frisbee life that you felt like really connected to the community?
I think my answer to this is sounds sad at first, but it's not sad. I've torn both of my ACLs, and I think both of the times that I tore each of them respectively really brought to light how many wonderful friends and helpful people Frisbee has brought into my life. Both times I had like some one of my roommates and very good friends drive me to the hospital and like drop whatever they were doing and like stay with me. Urgent care takes like a really long time, turns out, and stay with me for like several hours. Hi, Frank. I was thinking about this too. The day after my second ACL surgery, I had like 10 people come over to my house, which is, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because I don't really remember very much of it, but Andrew, you were there, and you were trying to watch some basketball game. And I just remember being like surrounded by all these people who were like, do you need to take your medication? Like, do you need water? Can I fix you a snack? Like, do you want to watch some TV? And I was like so out of it, but I felt so helped and supported. And I think, I don't know that there are many people that have this community that will like, you have like a dozen people at any time who'll be like, oh, you need help like showering? Sure, like let me come on over. Let me just help you out with that. So Frisbee, I think those experiences really illuminated how, I don't know, how wonderful the Frisbee community is and how many people are like deeply helpful and caring.
I think that was not the first time that I met your mom, but it was certainly, I think, the most time that I'd spent with your mom up to that point was.
You guys really bonded.
Yeah, your mom's a good. We text, so
I know your text.
It's cute. I really enjoy being friends with your mom.
Yeah, I think she really loves that too.
What's do you have like a favorite Frizz memory, like something that just like comes to mind?
One of the ones that I was thinking about is also from 2014 Worlds in Lecco, kind of like Jill's. It has very little to do with the actual Frisbee playing, but after all of the locker room champagne drinking that Jill referenced, a lot of Riot and a lot of Sockeye came together, and we were hanging out on this lake. I think it was the shores of Lake Como. I don't remember. At night after all the finals were done, and just kind of like processing the day and hanging out and celebrating. And we were watching this huge thunderstorm roll in over the lake, and it was dark and it was beautiful. We could see the lightning, and the storm started like rolling closer and closer, and we're like, maybe we should leave. And so we get like down to the wire, and the storm is like on top of us and starts pouring, and so everyone piles into their like tiny little European cars. We had this like 2-door Fiat, and we packed a bunch of people in, and we like dropped some Sockeye folks off at their hostel, and then myself and Khalees and Shira and our driver Shannon McDowell were like, okay, we're gonna like drive back to our hostel now. It's like half hour, should be easy. And we try to get on the highway, and it's been raining so much that all of the on-ramps are flooded and we can't get on the highway. And so what should have been like a 30-minute drive turned into like a 3-hour drive, where at one point we were like driving through a street so narrow that we had to fold in the mirrors of this tiny Fiat. And this town was like medieval. I'm pretty sure we like woke everyone up when we drove through at like 1 a.m. But our little car gets back to the hostel that Ryan was staying at, and we hadn't seen anyone else on our drive back, but somehow everybody, all of the other Riot cars get back within like minutes of each other. So everyone was like safe, and we're like, God, I just had this like really weird experience. We were driving and then couldn't get on the highway, and all this, I don't know, it was just this like funny situation that I never would have been in if not for that Frisbee tournament.
Yeah.
So that's one that comes to mind.
That night was so interesting. I was staying with y'all at the hostel, and by hostel,
castle,
like a castle. Yeah, it was an enormous European, like, older than this country castle. And like a bunch of us like went back to the hostel right after, because like none of like I think I was in Serge's car, and one, I'm not myself I don't like care to go to like post-tournament parties all that much, but like a bunch of people were just like, I'm not even going to chance it. Let's just go back to the hostel. And it's like half the team is out and like braving the storm, and we're all just kind of sitting around like, do we wonder if they're all dead? Like, like is it weird to think like, do they all get into like car accidents? Like, is this something we should be worried about? And like there's like a wall of water coming from the sky, and it's just like, oh gosh. Like, and then like I think around like midnight or 1, everybody rolls in within like a half hour of each other, and it's just like, okay, they're alive. Okay, good. And then everybody got there. It's funny. I also have another memory of Shannon McDowell getting lost on the way to the tournament.
That seems right.
Her car arrived. Love you, Shannon. You're a terrific person. Just like she got lost on the way to the tournament. So I think like, and again, I did not drive in Italy because I was just like, I'm going to get lost. Like, one, it's like, you're driving on like the car seat is on the opposite side. And I was just like, I could apply for a thing, but I was like, you know what?
No, thanks.
I knew my anxiety. I knew that like, there's a chance I'm going to flip out here. So I'm just not going to do it. And, let other people do it for me. And I was in, like I said, Serge's car, and she did great. And we survived. We're all here.
Yeah. Everybody made it. Turns out.
Everybody made it. Do you have any like favorite games you've played in, like a true frisbee mem.
Oh man. I, truth be told, am pretty bad at remembering frisbee game, like individual frisbee games. I think that probably a like standout favorite is the finals of college nationals in 2012 or whenever UW won. I think that like obviously winning is great, but I also think that I don't know. I feel like I just had some good chemistry with a lot of people on the team that year. And so it was just particularly fun. And even when I wasn't playing, just like watching, like I remember this one moment with Lucy Williams and Lane Fury, where Lucy, I don't remember who threw it to whom, but it was this like complete total. They're both handlers who had been playing together for a long time, and one of them threw this like crazy around, totally blind, but knew exactly where the other person was going to be, and just like didn't. There was no thought in either of their minds that it was not going to be a completion, and that we were not just going to like keep on having like retaining possession of the disc. So just even watching moments like that, I really enjoyed, even though I was not part of them. Also rewatching that game now, I realize I don't know, like I was not as good as frisbee as I thought that I was at the time. I like, really did some dumb things, but it was a fun thing to do.
Is that the Tufts game, or is that the final?
No, this is the final. The Tufts game, I threw a Callahan on the first point. I will never forget that. I don't remember it. I remember two moments from that Tufts game. One was me throwing a Callahan and walking off the field, and our coach, Danny Karlinski, said, "Well, you can only go up from here." And then the other moment that I remember was there was a pass into the end zone that just the person it was a Tufts possession, and it was, I think, would have been game, and the person who was supposed to catch it laid out and just like their hand was just not in the right place. And that would have been it. That we would have lost and not gone to finals, and none of this would have ever happened. But I just remember seeing that and be like, oh God, we're like this close to losing. So, but we
I would like to dispute Danny's claim that you can only go up from here, because you could have thrown like 14 more Callahans.
You're right. I could have just like stayed down there.
It could have gone objectively much worse. Like,
yeah,
just
that's
to be like, whoops. Oh, there's.
I really hope he would have just like benched me at a certain. If I'd thrown another Callahan, maybe I just don't play the rest of the game.
He believes in the spirit of second chances and just keeps putting you in.
Hopefully not like 15th chances though.
Right, and at a certain point, you're just like purposely throwing.
Yeah.
Hands away.
Oh, you look like you want this.
Oh, you look nice. Do you want this, Dick? The other memory I have of that game is the final point, which is, I forget who threw it, but disc goes sailing.
The final?
The Tufts game.
Okay. Yeah.
And disc goes sailing into the end zone. It's double game point, and Margot Kelly catches the disc in the end zone, and she just kind of like lightly hops, like Margot does, and she just
casual.
She has this like very casual celebration. It dawns on her, like as people are rushing the field, it suddenly dawns on her, oh, we won. Like it wasn't just like any other like whatever random point. It was like, oh, we won. We're going to the finals.
Yeah,
and it's I think Oregon had like an unfortunate injury that year. I think like Bailey got hurt before finals. So unfortunately, I think the game of the tournament ended up being that semifinals match. But boy, that was a friggin' nail biter.
Yeah, I also remember that Oregon had the semi-final that was after us, and I remember it got significantly windier. So I think we were not only we had a good close game with Tufts, but the conditions were on our side. I think
that's
Oregon
right.
Just had a rough go.
Well, Sarah, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. One of the true joys and treasures of Ultimate for me, my post-playing career, is that I met you and we became friends. and you moved to Chicago for 2 years, and we managed to keep our friendship going, which really meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
And now you're back, and now there's COVID, so ultimately
Just
kind of
keep hanging out over Zoom
Yeah.
and on our porches.
Yeah,
And
but you're a treasure to me, and someone I really value, and I really appreciate you a lot.
well, thank you, my friend. All of those feelings right back to you. I'm very happy to be in the same city as you again.
Same. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now let's talk to Autumn. Autumn, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Autumn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I feel like this is going pretty well. So I will try not to torpedo the event with my stupid words. So Autumn, give us a quick intro into you. When did you start playing? What is your experience in Ultimate? Like, give us the rundown.
Yeah, I started playing Ultimate Frisbee in 9th grade when I was in 9th grade, and I kind of got peer pressured into it. I had been really active in sports before that. I'd broken my nose playing softball the year before, so I was trying out for the softball team and was like really, really nervous and unhappy. And one of my good friends was like, well, I'll go try out for the Ultimate team, but you have to go too. And so ended up quitting softball so I could go play Ultimate, and have just kind of played since then when I'm not injured. So
when your face isn't being broken by a softball.
Yeah.
Wow. That is quite a good reason to start playing Ultimate and to stop playing softball is your face being broken. So do you work with Dis Northwest now, right?
I was laid off due to COVID. So I worked part-time for Dis Northwest as a volunteer manager.
Sure.
My full-time job is teaching high school. So.
Oh, okay. How is that going? We'll get off an Ultimate conversation for a second, but how is that going in this climate?
I think everybody is trying to do the best that they possibly can. And I think just like we see if you coach kids in Ultimate, how resilient they are and like how much they're willing to try and do, like you see that exact same thing in school. You just got to have all these fun technical complications on top of it of being like, hold on, my call has decided to freeze. I need to leave and rejoin the call. And they're doing great.
As somebody who deals with technical problems, just like as an adult who owns a bunch of like fancy equipment and it just doesn't work, I can't imagine what it's like for kids who are just like, the computer is supposed to let me talk to my teacher and it's not working. Like that frustration must be really, really overwhelming. Tell me about a time in Ultimate that you felt like really connected to the community.
So similar to what some other people have said, like there are so many small moments that really make you feel connected and welcome in this community. And I think for me, the one that really was kind of like the big first one was when I was in high school. Also kind of depressing, my dad passed away when I was in high school, and I found out Thursday night after Ultimate practice.
Wow.
And my teammates were just really supportive, and I ended up going to an Ultimate tournament that weekend because it felt better than just sitting at my house and being sad and depressed. And like just the effort and time that people took to hang out with me and make sure I felt included and really positive and like let me be upset when I needed to be upset. And just kind of all of that encouragement was really amazing. And, everybody was there and really helped build me up in all those different ways then and going forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Wow. That's, how long ago were you in high school? I mean, I don't mean to ask, but
I graduated in 2007, so a while.
So condolences obviously to you for your father, but yeah, that's it's always nice to know that you can, that like, same for, whenever there were times where I was feeling really down or like things were just tough, I knew I had a community to go to, whether it was like practice or, knowing I was going to go to a league game that weekend, just something to look forward to, and knowing that like, for the most part, like everybody's positive, everybody's happy to be playing, everybody's happy to see each other. It's just I played basketball growing up. I played soccer growing up. And it wasn't until I played Ultimate that I really felt like a part of something when we were playing, because like, you'd play team sports, you'd feel like a part of the team for 2 hours, and then you'd all go your separate ways. And Ultimate was the first sport that I played where like people hung around with each other. Like after the game, you'd just hang around on the sideline, you'd commiserate. Maybe, when we were all old enough, we'd go out to bars afterwards or something, or a restaurant, and just kind of spend more time with each other. And that was such a foreign concept to me growing up playing, basketball and soccer and these other organized sports that are just like, okay, you're done. Goodbye, everybody. Go off your separate ways. We'll see each other in a week.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we also, won that tournament, which was like a nice bonus, was being able to win the tournament after going down 0-5 to start the finals.
Yeah, that's a nice feeling. You have any particularly like vivid favorite Ultimate memories? Just something that like sticks out in your mind?
So there are a lot of like small snapshots that I think of on like the opposite end of Ultimate compared to playing. I have really enjoyed coaching. And so I think one of my favorite memories just from coaching was last summer, 2019 summer, not 2020 summer, obviously, was working with kids, and the kids had developed this entire like talent show after lunch to spend some time. And it was like all this Disney-based talent shows where like coaches were competing against campers versus like coaches in training. And this one kid had memorized the entire song of like thank you from Disney's Moana, and sang the entire thing in front of the entire camp with like a dance and hand motions, and just like it was so amusing. And also the fact that everybody was so positive and so supportive to it. I just always look back on that, and like it highlights camp and Ultimate and a positive community.
Yeah. Thank you for branding it Disney's Moana. I'd hate for us to get sued for broadcasting that we were talking about a non-Disney Moana. Litigation would be huge. But who do you coach for?
I currently am trying to start a team back up at the high school that I teach at. But in the past, I've coached for Washington Middle School and Seattle Waldorf High School. And I actually coached when I was in high school down in Eugene, Oregon. So I coached, one of the middle schools down there Kennedy Middle School. So I'm not currently coaching. I'm trying to start a team, and it's been a slow process.
What high school are you trying to start at?
Rainier Beach High School.
They don't have a team?
No, they combined with Franklin last year. So it's kind of been a little hit or miss. They had a really strong coaching program, and as things happen, lives go in different directions. And so they've kind of lost that like consistent coach.
Sure.
So trying to recreate that, but trying to recreate it during remote learning during a pandemic is real hard.
I understand. What are some of the teams that you've played on while you've been up in Seattle?
I have played club with a club team called Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played for a couple of years due to an injury. And then I play a lot of league. And I've played with Vince and Rainier Mountaineers and Babber, and have played on the mixed team 77 Cents. So the all women's team in the mixed league in the winter division. Which has been a really fun and interesting experience.
Mm-hmm. Jude on the chat has been I don't know if he's a precog or something, but every time you bring up something, he seems to have typed it in about 5 seconds before you bring it up. So
yeah, Jude is amazing. The reason I played on Vince was because Jude invited me. When I first moved up here, I didn't know anybody. I moved up here for graduate school. And I had signed up for the Disc Northwest, I believe it was the Summer Hat League, and was randomly assigned. I had agreed to captain, and I was randomly assigned to co-captain with Jude. And I was excited, and I was a little nervous. I didn't recognize Jude's name, and I just get this email from Jude being like, Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be a co-captain with you. I remember watching you play in high school and it was amazing. And this was like 5 years after I graduated from high school. So part of me in my head is like, oh, that's really cool. And the other part of me is like, how do you know who I am from high school? I haven't played in a while. And so it's a really small community, but always really welcoming and positive.
Yeah, Jude is Jude's a very positive person and a very person I have grown to really respect and like a lot. Vince was a team when I played. Like I'm sort of shocked to hear the name again, just because like as I said it before, I haven't played in 10 years, and I believe Vince was a team when I started playing in like 2002.
It's still a team. And when I played, I remember being told all about like the great Vince like separation where they figured out what the team name was. And there were still people playing who had the original story about what the team name was. And I would guess that people who started that team are still playing. Some of them are still playing on Vince and just keep on going.
Mm-hmm. Jude, are you there? Can you chime in for a sec?
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good, Jude. Do you still play on Vince?
Yeah, someday we will get to play as Vince again.
Yeah,
yes.
Post-pandemic, but so how were you aware of Autumn? How did that happen?
I think Autumn had played at Westerns probably. And let's be clear, Autumn was the best player on our high school team. It would have been hard to miss Autumn playing. So, you just start to like catalog people. You're like, oh, I'm coaching against this team and Autumn is like just killing us. And so you just remember names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to be clear, I'm not a founding member of Vince. There are people who played every one of the 26 seasons that Vince has been around. But we were really excited to add Autumn. Essentially anybody who's played in Seattle has been on the Vince roster for at least a minute. So
I think I played a pickup game with you once.
Yes, I think so.
So what is the Vince story? What is that Autumn was alluding to?
I'm not qualified to tell that. I'm sorry. That might have to be another storytelling evening.
Yeah, you're not authorized yet.
No.
Once you reach level 4 of Vince, then you're authorized to tell that kind of story.
Exactly.
So Jude, what give me an ultimate memory of yours.
Of mine?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I have a lot. I'm very old. And despite many head injuries, I do remember a lot of Ultimate. But I actually want to share an Ultimate memory that I have that involves Autumn coaching my son. First of all, props to Autumn. She coached middle school Ultimate for a very long time, which is hard and taxing. And I know a lot of the kids she coached, and that was not an easy crew. So props to you, Autumn, for putting up with them, including my son, for a very long time. There was a spring rain when we took a bunch. It was a ragtag crew of like 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to spring rain, and Autumn was the head coach, and I think I was assistant coach. I'm not sure if it was official, but it was really hard to shut me up. So that was the way it worked out. And we just had one of these magical runs where the kids all came together, made it all the way to the finals, and lost in the finals to Mercer. Shout out Mustangs. But that was really one of my favorite weekends of Ultimate ever. Watching these kids come together, kids different ages, different backgrounds, and came together under a vision that I think Autumn really had a lot of input on in terms of just building a team that played together. And it was amazing. It was an awesome weekend. And they won the Spirit Award, I think. Is that correct, Autumn?
I know we won it some year. Sorry, a dog came and visited me and I got distracted.
Yeah. But that was super fun.
Yeah. Jude, Autumn, this event couldn't have happened without the both of you. So I really appreciate the work. Jude, you've been doing a lot of production, a lot of making sure people are muted in the call, but also admitting people in, and you put this together. And before we close, there's a couple of people I wanted to bring in. I don't know if Kat's here, but Kyle is here. And Kyle, I wanted you to if you're available, there he is. Kyle, I know you have a disc golf tournament happening this weekend, and give us a little preview of what's to come this weekend.
I do have a disc golf tournament this weekend. In conjunction with Huck to the Future, we are running Disc Northwest's first disc golf event called Putt to the Future. It's going to be up at North Bend at South Fork Disc Golf Course on Sunday. We have actually filled out all of our tee times for the event, which I'm very excited about. We have 132 ultimate players signed up to play disc golf. Super exciting. And it's gonna be a lot of fun, and hopefully we can actually roll this into more disc golf stuff through Disc Northwest. There's kind of a need for a kind of established organization that has kind of resources like Disc Northwest to help facilitate some disc golf here in the area. I mean, disc golf is pretty big, but it's not structured in a way. There's a possibility there for Disc Northwest to add something new. So we're going to talk about how that works, but really excited about it. There's still some opportunities to get involved with the event. We have tee sponsors where you get a sign up for every tee. We actually have 7 tees remaining to be sponsored. It's $25 a piece. And there's links on the Disc Northwest homepage for how to do that. And you get to write whatever message you want. And actually, all this talk about Vince had me thinking about this. We've got, some teams are sponsoring it. So we've got Blue-Footed Boobies are sponsoring 2 tees, I think. And we've got Toolbox is sponsoring them. So if you don't want those teams to be better than your team, maybe you should think about something.
If you're a team that has been around for 26 years.
Yeah, only $25. And you can say whatever message you want about how great your team is, or maybe how awful Toolbox is. I don't know. Whatever you want.
It's up to you. I mean, if you are one of those 26-year established teams and you decide to go that way, that is your choice.
Absolutely.
Kyle,
or if you have a company you want to advertise, or just you want to support Disc Northwest yourself, that's fine. The other option to get involved, my understanding, so we have all these really awesome disc golf discs in different sizes and colors available. My understanding is they're available on the Disc Northwest website, although I couldn't actually find it when I was looking just now. But we still have a handful of them left. If you were able to sign up for the tournament, but want a disc golf disc that says Putt to the Future on it with a sweet DeLorean on it, and you can look on the website.
Yeah. Kyle, real quick, give me an ultimate memory of yours before we go.
Oh boy. So this is one I shared recently on a podcast, but I started playing Ultimate in 1994 in high school in Atlanta with a bunch of guys. And the very first tournament we went to was this. It was a Savage 7 tournament where you have no subs. Every year we would go back to this tournament again and again and again for 20 years. The first year we played in the women's division. We were all high school freshmen and sophomores, and we lost every game. And then we soon graduated from there, and we're playing the men's division. And eventually we get to the finals. We all got pretty good at Ultimate. And the tournament was high level. It had teams from Colorado. It had teams from DC and North Carolina, Chain Lightning teams. But we never were able to pull it out. And then finally in 2014, we sort of had the dream season. It was sort of our last hurrah together. Some amalgamation of 7 or 10 guys that would always play this tournament together. And we finally pulled it out and won. We were 37 years old or 36 years old, each of us. And my memory, though, was just sitting in the van, all 7 of us, driving back from Athens, Georgia, where the tournament was every year. as the sun set and just feeling like we kind of come full circle in our ultimate career. We come from these high school kids who didn't know what they were doing with ultimate frisbee to winning this tournament, which no one would recognize. It was called Seven Little Idiots. It's just a small tournament. It's sort of local and regional, but for us, it was the peak, or at the very beginning of the sport for us, we saw it as the peak, and it felt like we'd reached that peak, and it was just such a satisfying moment to do it with all my closest friends.
Yeah. Kyle, before we let you go, you have a famous Twitter account, we'll just say. And I think you're a great follow.
In trouble.
Yeah, you've been very well behaved recently, but you're fundraising right now for Fair Fight, right?
I am. So everyone may know John Ossoff, the Democratic Senate candidate in Georgia. He went to my high school. He's a few years younger than me, but his wife, Alicia Kramer, is actually a player I used to coach. She played at Paideia. She played for DC Scandal and Ozone. She's a very great player and a wonderful person. And John's a great guy. As everyone knows, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are both in Senate runoffs for control of the Senate. It's kind of a big deal. So I have a match going on. I will match up to $2,000 donated to Warnock, Ossoff, or Fair Fight. We are actually at 1965, I think, as of before this Zoom meeting. So someone can be the person who puts us over the top. All I have to do is donate $35 and then either tweet or DM me or whatever the receipt, and that'll be it. That'll be huge. You would be the person who gets that extra $2,000 in the bank. So
that's right. Any 26-year established teams out there who want to donate $35 to Fair Fight on top of buying a tee.
Right, it's only $60, and think how much good you're doing.
That's right. That's right.
A disc golf tournament and the Senate.
Yeah, those disc golf first, Senate second, kind of in the importance category.
That's how I rank them.
Yeah. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on and giving those plugs. And
thanks for having me.
Twitter. Yeah. And before we go, tomorrow night, Kat Tascheron, is hosting a dance party with Disc Northwest. You can find the info at discnorthwest.org or on the Instagram page at Disc Northwest or on the Twitter. So any of those are available to, you can go there, sign up for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kat couldn't join us for this, but yeah, go to the dance party. Check out, if you are going to the disc golf tournament, have a lot of fun. And don't forget to check out the auction on Saturday night. I think that auction is live. If you go to, again, discnorthwest.org or their Twitter or Instagram page, all the info is there. So thank you to everybody who joined. A lot of you were here from the beginning. You stayed to the end. I really appreciate that you were here, that you listened. Really appreciate Jude for all the work that he put into this. Appreciate Autumn for all the work that she put into this. Thank you for everybody for listening. Jude, do you have anything you want to say before we go?
I just want to say thank you. When we were talking about events that could bring the community together in a time when I think we're all feeling a real disconnect, I thought a storytelling event like this would be the kind of like the perfect embodiment of why we love our community so much. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so fitting that we heard the words friendship and love and care over and over and over again. And the sport is really fun, but it's the community that matters. And you were the very first person I thought of when we thought of this event. And I'm so thankful that you were able to take this on and put in the work to put it all together. And it was seamless. And I really appreciate you, and I appreciate the care that you brought to this process.
It was truly my pleasure. I mean, a bunch of these people are friends of mine who I talk to on a semi-normal basis, semi-regular basis, but to have this avenue to kind of, have everybody around at once is I thank you for the opportunity, but yeah, thank you to everybody who participated shared your stories. I think it's really telling that, again, Ultimate is a great sport, but like so many people's stories of what was, what sticks out to them was stories of off the field, stuff where it's like we came together as a team, we came together as a community in this time of, either like losing or, feeling low, and you had your team to pick you up. I think that's really indicative of the community itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it's a good reminder that even when we're not seeing each other on the field, we're still here for each other. And these times, these times have been rough, and but I'm just so thankful that we have each other, and I'm thankful that Disc Northwest is working to keep us connected to one another, even if it's virtually.
Yeah. So everybody stay safe, and let's all come together as a community when it's safe to. And I hope to see you all again sometime soon. And thank you for joining. Good night.